Ready, Jacob?
Yeah, man.
Are we recording now?
3, 2, 1.
Are we definitely?
No.
Are we definitely recording?
3, 2, 1.
Wait, well, we all want to do that.
Sake.
What do you want to do that one more time?
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has. I don't remember us doing that ever.
No. Do you not?
No.
I used to do that
Just
all the
makes
time.
it easier
Used to
for
be-
Matt.
Used to be
Matt to
3,
edit.
2,
Go on
1.
then. Go on then. Count.
3, 2, 1. That was delayed, that. That's shocking.
Alright, let's just one person do the clap. You do the clap.
1,
Do the clap!
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very, very, very delayed edition of the World Cup Waffle, the post-World Cup Waffle. The tournament has been in the rearview mirror for quite a while now. As always, though, I'm joined by Matt Walker-Mills and Jacob Cross. Gents, how are we?
Good. Steady.
Yeah.
Feeling better after the last time we recorded?
Yeah, a lot better.
Yeah.
The medication's doing its wonders.
You were very sick, weren't you?
You and your many types of medication that you definitely need.
Literally.
I sound a little bit off the boil at the moment.
You sound terrible.
I've been coughing for the last week, and a little bit too much shouting when I've been going out and having fun.
As fresh as a daisy.
Yeah, all right for some, isn't it?
I'm feeling great. I'm ready.
So there's plenty. Well, I'm glad you're ready because there's plenty for us to talk about since we last put an edition of the World Cup Waffle up on YouTube. We had France played Morocco in the second semi-final and were victorious by 2-0. Gents, what do you remember about that game?
I think we all touched on it, the fact that we thought it was going to be a lot closer than a lot of people had down. You know, that France were obviously probably had the best attacking front line out of anybody in the tournament, but then Morocco had the best defence statistically in the tournament, so it was going to be a real battle between both ends of the pitches. But I think we all ultimately had that superstition that France were just going to be too strong for them, and they ultimately prevailed and proved that.
It's personally what I expected, that France would be victorious, but that's not to say Morocco didn't put up a fight.
No, I think Morocco were actually the better team, really. I think, don't get me wrong, France defensively were very good. I can remember, I think it was toward the end of the game, was it Koundé who made that amazing block that stopped the goal from going in? It was, honestly, the defence from France was brilliant, but I've got to give it to Morocco. They didn't stop fighting.
No, not at all. They didn't give up. Obviously, the first African team to make a World Cup semi-final ever. They has certainly had a point to prove going into that game. But that's just the thing with France as well. France were peppered throughout the match. Morocco really probably deserved at least a goal if they were going to go out on their back in this match. But with France, this is something I've noticed about them throughout the entire tournament. They really don't need much. You mentioned about the quality they have going forward, the likes of their top goal scorer ever now in Olivier Giroud, and the person that will eventually break that record in probably about 5 years' time, Kylian Mbappe, who's somebody we will touch on when we talk about the final. They don't need many chances. Like, in that game, they won 2-0, I reckon, from maybe 3 shots, and 2 of them went in.
It was a similar sort of story to the England game. When they played us, they must have had a handful of chances.
We didn't give them much when they played against us, and Morocco didn't give them, well, they didn't give them very little. They give them very little to work with, but that's what makes France one of the most incredible teams at this tournament to watch, is because that when they do go forward, you're never ever certain that they're not going to score. Like, as an England fan, do you guys relate to this when I say when you watch us go forward, you're expecting us to get tackled and the ball to get cleared? Like, when we go forward, unless it's like a clear-cut chance, like when Kane was breaking through against Senegal, unless it's a clear-cut chance like that, are you ever thinking, we're definitely going to score here?
I think we look a threat, but I don't think we have that clinicalness, like you say, with France, where it's
But then, as a fan, when somebody, like, even if Kylian Mbappe has still got 5 players to get past, if he's running, like, and he's 30 yards from goal, in my head I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going to score here.
He's just got that quick turn of pace, hasn't he?
He has, but
I think that, and I think France, tactically, they were probably one of the best tactically set up teams. I think when you look at, especially the way they defended, I know they've got the amazing attack with Mbappe, but the way they defended, they were so sort of collected, very clever, and it was just like that. That's one of the forefronts of what won them the game against Morocco.
It's part of the reason they won in 2018 as well. They were defending champions up until recent events. But with another thing with France as well, it's testament to how well they've performed with how many injuries they've had.
Yeah,
they made the World Cup final without the Ballon d'Or winner, without one of their
Kante.
young up-and-comers in Nkunku, who had to go home early. N'Golo Kante wasn't even in the conversation for the tournament.
Pogba?
Because he's injured.
Where's Pogba in all this?
Where has Paul Pogba been, says Graham Souness. Well, he's obviously been injured. He's not been able to play either. They've lost a lot of players to injuries.
Yeah.
And they were able... first game against... I can't remember who they played in their first match. Australia. And Lucas Hernandez went straight off injured and was replaced by his brother. And Teo Hernandez had an incredible tournament. Like, they have that depth and they have those players to fill those roles. And the way they adjust to the challenges that injuries have posed for them speaks volumes about, like, it's no surprise that going into this World Cup they were defending world champions and they made it as far as they did.
I mean, if you look at the game against Morocco, it took Akrembe exactly that substitution of was it Kolo Muane, is it? And he scored. Wasn't he the fastest scorer to come off for a substitution?
I don't know if it was the fastest ever, but it's up there.
It's definitely up there.
Because he came on that Randall Kolo Muane as well. I can't lie. I didn't know who he was.
No.
When he set foot on that pitch. He did come into the team because of injuries, but he's a young striker at Eintracht Frankfurt. And he was on the pitch for maybe a minute. I can't remember specifically how long it was, but
first few touches of the ball.
It was his first touch.
Yeah.
He hadn't touched the ball.
That was it.
He hadn't dribbled or anything like that. Like he hadn't been past the ball or anything until that point. And it was a little bit lucky, to be fair, because I think it was a shot from. I'm assuming it was Mbappe. I can't quite remember now, but it was a shot from Mbappe that deflected straight to him, and he couldn't really miss. But to come on and to immediately make that impact, to be in the right place at the right time, which is exactly what your manager sent you on to do. It just shows how well France have organised themselves.
He's one player that I'm actually quite surprised that hasn't been snapped up. Think about Frankfurt, they're like Southampton in the Premier League. They like to buy and then they like to develop and then ultimately like make a profit. So I wouldn't be surprised in the summer if we see him even somewhere like PSG. I could see him somewhere like PSG or
send the French bloke back to the capital of France.
Well, it makes sense, wouldn't it?
It would,
he's young,
and
he's got plenty of time to develop as well.
PSG like their money as well, and obviously, PSG are currently in contract extension talks with another one of their top forwards who I think we've got plenty to say about going into the final. But just before we do, we'll give a quick mention to the third place game. It was a game that I didn't actually watch.
No.
But it was Croatia versus Morocco. It finished 2-1 to Croatia. For Morocco to come away from this World Cup without an actual medal, without a podium finish.
Well, I suppose an accolade.
Yeah, exactly. Like a podium finish, a first, second or third, seems harsh. Just because of how well they've done and how nobody put money, except Samuel Eto'o apparently.
Yeah,
nobody expected Morocco to make the World Cup semi-finals.
I think they're definitely one of the teams of the tournament.
Absolutely, yeah. And some of those players as well have made career for themselves with their
100%.
performances in that tournament. Obviously, we've previously talked about Sofian Amrabat, and what a tournament he's had and his links to Liverpool afterwards, which you were you chuffed about? I think you were more interested in Enzo Fernandez, obviously, weren't you?
I mean, with Liverpool, I'm sure we'll come on to it in a bit, but
yeah, we will come to that.
We'll just take anything in
Here we
midfield.
go.
We'll take anything in midfield at this stage. We've just got such an age in midfield that we just need fresh ideas.
Well, we'll look at the players that are linked to Liverpool shortly.
But I mean, Croatia versus Argentina, that was another game, wasn't it?
Croatia versus Argentina, that was the... Oh, no, of course, that was the... Oh, we're stupid. That was the semi-final. We talked about Argentina and Netherlands. Croatia versus Argentina. That's poor from us. That was the semi-final, of course. 3-0. It was from me.
I was thinking earlier when we were talking, I was like, what are we talking about?
That's on me, that.
Yeah.
I confirmed that before the podcast as well. That's poor from me.
I'm not cutting this. This is not getting cut. This is staying in.
So that's semi-final between Argentina and Croatia, huh?
So yeah, oh wow, what a game! What a game.
Yeah, so that was a little bit more comprehensive for Argentina. They did struggle to penalties against Netherlands, but they did progress, and they made it to the World Cup final off the back of putting Croatia to the sword, 3-0, and I think it was a standout game for that little fella on the wing that's got them Ballon d'Ors.
Oh, Alvarez.
But I think as great as Argentina was, I think there's another standout player in that match, and that's got to be Modric.
36 years old.
36.
He's had a blinder of a season with Real Madrid as well. They've won the league and the Champions League double, and this is the second World Cup in a row that Croatia have taken the bronze medal.
Yeah.
In obviously they unfortunately beat us in 2018 in the third place playoff. But they did end up beating Morocco, as we mentioned, and they deserve it as well. And it's like, for a team that has a few aging players like Modric and Perisic and a few of the other itches, they've got a team with players who are knocking on a little bit. They've still got plenty to offer, as we've seen.
They have. And
obviously they knocked Brazil out. Like, that tells you everything you need to know.
Well, exactly. And the goalkeeper, again, as we mentioned in the last podcast,
Livakovic.
I mean, if no one's signing in this January, I'll be very surprised, because he had an absolute standout tournament.
Yeah, it's one of them. I could see him at somewhere like Everton, because I think Pickford. Let me explain. I think Pickford needs to go onto bigger and better things.
Of course, yeah.
But then I think it's the perfect replacement.
You really want Livakovic playing Championship football next season?
Well, at this current rate, it probably does.
As it stands, they're like 19th. They're 18th or 19th. As it stands, they are going down.
You know, you're not 19 forever.
But
hilarious.
I do genuinely think I don't think he'd be in Everton. I'd say probably more along the lines of maybe a team that, like, Crystal Palace, maybe West Ham. West Ham,
yeah, I could see that.
They're in contention for going down as well.
Well, yeah.
Well, very true.
Well, we'll come to the domestic side of everything. So yeah, there was that semi-final that I really remembered, the Croatia one.
Jay's having a rough day today.
I'm very awake.
He does look very ill, bless him, doesn't he?
Oh, thanks.
In that Preston shirt.
Actually, yeah, before we do talk about the final of the World Cup, we will just make reference to the shirts that we're all wearing. Matt, do you want to go first?
Yeah, well, as you saw in the first podcast, and I think I wrote it in the last podcast as well, this is the family...
It's been in the wash since, I hope.
No. This is the
the sweat marks are still brewing.
No, he just lives in it. It's glued to him.
This is the Family FC shirt. I work for Family FC. They are a coaching business who have an app which helps parents and kids learn football together. It's a really great company. I've enjoyed working for them. I've been working for them since April now. So big up to Family FC. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.
Ideally, it won't be the last time we mention Family FC going forward on these podcasts as well.
Yeah.
Another quick mention as well. This is a shirt provided to me by Family FC. As I've made mention, I am in fact a Preston North End fan. Sorry to break the news to you guys. I know I've never told you that before. And this is, I believe it's the O2 shirt. Quite retro with the old Enterprise sponsor and the old badge as well, with the lovely Lamb of God sitting proudly atop the words Preston North End FC. A shirt that I've never owned this previously, so big credit to Family FC for providing me with that one. Jacob?
My story's not that glamorous, but this is my, I suppose, work uniform for Redcliffe. Obviously, run the commentary and got the face for the radio, I suppose, but... Yeah, my story's
this
not...
This is your shirt,
though. The face for the Radcliffe Radio.
And then I suppose the shirt on the front, that's my retro England shirt.
I'm not sure how well that shows up on film, actually, to be fair, because it is a dark shirt with the black badge as well, but it is an England shirt, that.
I've never actually seen it before.
I've never seen it before as well. Where did you get that?
From Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it were only 20 quid, to be fair.
That's not too bad.
No, it isn't actually.
And then Boss Man sorted me out down road.
And then one more. We've got this dishcloth over here.
Excuse me. That is
the sponsor's not chipped on that one, like the one it was
sponsor
before.
Isn't chipped on that one because I wreck every Tottenham shirt that I own purely because.
You don't know how to use the washing machine correctly.
Because you get frustrated when you get...
Because I get frustrated and I chuck them in the washing machine and then that's it.
They're never seen again.
They're never seen again.
But yeah, of course, we've got a little mention of the mighty Spurs.
The mighty Spurs.
So, the World Cup final, this game was impossible to forget, wasn't it? It's the best game of football I've watched live for as long as I can remember. It had absolutely everything. It had both teams giving each other their absolute level best, and I say that knowing full well that France didn't turn up for 75 minutes. But that ties into my point earlier about France just being so clinical with the chances that they do get, even if they are few and far between. And I was just on tenterhooks right up until that last penalty kick.
I've got to say, I had goosebumps through the whole game because the thing is, even when Argentina were 2-0 up, and don't get me wrong, I was looking at the game and I was thinking, yeah, this is Argentina's to win, really. But I always thought to myself, France aren't the kind of team who are going to back down. And I know they have that young lad up front, that French bloke, and obviously
I hope he's French. He's playing for France,
and obviously he's class. He's a brilliant player, and I mean the fact that he scored he scored the hat trick?
He scored a
He
hat-trick,
scored a hat trick
obviously,
to get them back. It kind of just shows how talented he is, even if he can be quite an unlikable character at times.
We've got to make reference though to Argentina's goal. Both absolutely brilliant team goals.
Yeah.
Whereas the polar opposite with France, I suppose.
Which other goal are you referring to here? I understand you're talking about Di Maria's goal, the good team goal, and the third one where...
No, the second one. The first one.
That was a penalty.
Well, they've done well to
What
work
a
it into that area.
brilliant team goal.
No, what I mean is they've done very well to work it into that area, and it was just a cynical foul from Ousmane Dembele, I think, who was actually the first player to get substituted off. He had a...
that happened, didn't it? I forgot about that.
He had a woeful game. It was such a cynical foul as well. He didn't need to make it.
He seemed like one of the really good players for France when they were playing. I can remember they played, I think it was it Poland they played? And he played really, really good against Poland.
He did.
I was quite surprised.
He had a very good tournament, Ousmane Dembele. He's always been very hot and cold. Just to summarise the game as well, because we haven't actually done that yet. For anybody who has lived under a rock, that was 3-3 after extra time, 2-2 after 90 minutes, and Argentina ended up walking away with the win and the trophy after winning 4-2 on penalties. Excuse me.
Cue the cough.
Yes, there'll be a few of those. And yeah, just obviously when the game started, Argentina were the only team on the pitch. France were nowhere to be seen. That penalty was a little bit carelessly given away.
Yeah.
Messi became the first player to score in every stage of the World Cup. So that's group stage, round of 16, quarters, semis, and final.
What a surprise!
Like, of course, that's just another record. He's not got enough of them. He's not already got like 800,000 of those. And so he got the opening goal. Di Maria scored that brilliant team goal, as you mentioned, getting on the end of a brilliant through ball by, I want to say it was Alexis McAllister, Brighton's McAllister, who fed in the assist. And then France made two substitutions, didn't they? On the half-hour mark, both Giroud and Dembele were replaced by Randal Kolo Muani and Marcus Thuram came on the pitch. They were the two substitutes from the Morocco game as well. And obviously Kolo Muani got himself a goal in that Morocco game. And along with Mbappe, they were the only three players that turned up for France up until about minute 75.
I don't know. Yeah. I think that'd be harsh to say. I think Lloris had a pretty solid game. I think he kept Argentina at bay for, well, as much as he could.
I think he did make some clinical saves in the game. I think the issue of France at that point was they left it quite late.
Yeah,
it was
the backs were against the wall, weren't they?
But it was almost like they were still a bit shaken up from. They were still shaken up from the Moroccan game, I think, because when you saw towards the end of that Moroccan game, even though France won, it was very much like it was difficult.
They couldn't relax.
They couldn't relax because Morocco kept fighting against them. I think that sort of was still present during the final.
But it probably was the game of it was the story of the goalkeepers in some way. Obviously, we'll give the plaudits to the attackers in a minute, but we can't discredit what that save that Emi Martinez pulled off in, I think, the 119th minute or something.
And it was from Colin Moani, that as well. Yeah. The ball sort of escaped Otamendi as it went over the top. Colin Moani took it on first time, and that might be like save of the decade.
Yeah, I was going to say, just thought it was going to be deja vu, didn't you? And France were going to win again
from such close range in such a crucial time of the World Cup final, to pull off a one-on-one save when Colin Moani's put that much power behind that volley, and to just get your leg in the right place and to make that save from Emi Martinez, fantastic.
Yeah,
hasn't he got it tattooed on his leg now or something?
Emi Martinez.
Yeah.
What has he got?
Got a tattoo of where the ball hit him on his leg.
Has he?
I could have.
That's very Emi Martinez.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
It was brilliant when he was celebrating getting the golden. I think the goalkeeper of the tournament.
He did. He got the golden.
We don't need to paint the picture, but if they've probably seen it. But
when
it was proper like
when he's a little bit naughty with the trophy. Yeah.
A little bit.
He loves it, doesn't he? I think I remember.
You need characters like that, don't you? Though, in the game, you love characters like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You don't want too many. He's like the Gerwyn Price of football, isn't he?
Oh, really?
Yeah, to bring the darts.
Of course,
got it.
But
there's my darts plug for the day sorted. Jago's Preston one in.
With Martinez, I remember after the game, obviously on the BBC coverage, I think Gary Lineker in the studio said he's a master of something housery, obviously censoring himself for the BBC audience. And to be fair, Lineker's not wrong.
No.
He does, and you say that, yeah, absolutely. We need personalities like that in football because so many footballers like talking exactly the same way in a post-match interview and everything like that. But someone like Martinez, just a little bit of personality, like just to do the things he does on the pitch. It just like as a neutral, I enjoy it personally.
Yeah.
Had let's say Villa was still a Championship team and he was playing for them, and we came up against him at Deepdale and he was pulling off that stuff, I'd probably be after his head, but.
Two things. Could you imagine if Michael Olise was at the World Cup and England just won and he was on post-match interview?
Oh God!
So can you walk us through that? Well, we scored 3 goals. We won.
Oh God! Stop.
But then also let's touch on Martinez a little bit. You think about the journey that he's had in football over the past decade, I suppose.
It was just bench,
and then Leno unfortunately got injured. I believe it was against Brighton.
The Brighton game, More
and then he finally got his chance. Took it, earned himself a move away, and now he's in conversation with some of the biggest clubs. I know he was linked with Bayern Munich, and I want to say Barcelona as well.
Well, I mean, he like you say,
deserves it though, doesn't he?
He does deserve it, and I mean, he did have a good tournament. And I mean, if you look at the penalty shootouts, I think we haven't really discussed the penalty shootout yet, but I mean. That was certainly interesting.
There's so much to talk about from this game, but yeah, obviously the shootout itself, it was Tchouaméni that went forward that had his. I think he missed it, didn't he?
No, he came off the post, didn't it?
I think it just went wide because it was Tchouaméni when he walked up to get the ball for the penalty, and Martinez just went and threw it to one side, didn't he? And everybody in the studio went, ooh, that had got a Gary Neville response because it was very sort of
on that fringe of like.
Yeah, it's like it's very it's playground antics, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
you need mind games though because you need every
that's
advantage.
Exactly what it was,
exactly.
And look, it worked to a T because Sherman missed. I don't think Martinez even dived the right way for that one.
No, he went the other way.
It's like Tim Krul-esque.
Tim Krul is what?
Tim
Krul and Emi Martinez are 2 goalkeepers that I would 50% at the time back to save a penalty.
The 2 goalkeepers you'd least like to face for a penalty, aren't they?
Yeah,
I don't know, Matt. I've seen Matt in goal.
I'm pretty good to be fair, but I mean, I think if we look at on a general basis, the final was very close. It was very stressful at times, and it almost had me on the brink of like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. But it was probably one of the best finals that I've seen in a good while.
The thing is, I love a football story. I love a football like drama, sort of where things wrap themselves up beautifully. And nowhere is that better exemplified than with Messi, obviously.
The fairy tale.
After he's had such a not a torrid time with the Argentina national team, but it's been a very sort of heartbreaking international career. They've come up short. They've got silver medals in so many tournaments. The 2014 World Cup, 2 Copa America finals they've lost, and then he temporarily retired. He came back when Scaloni, the manager, who was the youngest manager at the World Cup as well, and he took home the trophy, which deserves all the credit in the world. Scaloni personally reached out to him to get him back into the team, and since then they've won the Copa America. And now this is just the cherry on the cake. They've won the World Cup.
Can't believe he's retiring.
It's the biggest achievement in football. Well, apparently he's not retiring yet from the Argentina national team, but we will not see him again in another major tournament.
No. I was going to say, do you think if you were Messi right now, do you retire and don't? You're not going to ruin your legacy, but you don't.
He's ending his legacy. I think you retire.
I think you can retire from international football now because there's nothing else you need to do.
Yeah, he's won everything, hasn't he?
Yeah, I do feel. I mean, don't get me wrong. Wales were a team that I wasn't very fond of, but I do feel for Gareth Bale because he's sort of been the biggest fighter for that Wales team, and they've really struggled.
I think he ended his international career on quite a nice note because they went to the World Cup for the first time since the 60s, and Bale got their goal. Yeah. They scored at that World Cup, and it was him that scored it. It had to be him.
Penalty?
Yeah, it had to be him. So
against Iran, wasn't it?
I think that's totally. It was the 1-1.
Yeah.
No, it was against the US because we played around that day. Yeah. So things like that, it's very poetic.
Yeah.
For Messi, for this to be the ending to this World Cup, for him to be the winner of it. I think also it started another narrative about another player who we've touched upon but not gone into detail, and we really need to. Kylian Mbappe. The man has already won a World Cup. and he came so close to retaining it, which he'd have been like the first player to have done that.
He's also one of the nominees for top goal scorer as well.
He won. He was outright. He won the Golden Boot.
Wasn't it joint in the end? Oh no, because he scored the hat. Yeah,
he outright won the Golden Boot. With his well, he was the first player to score a hat trick in the World Cup final since '66, and a certain Jeff Hurst.
Wow.
And a certain Jeff Hurst. We will be editing that one.
No, we're leaving that in.
Jeff Shreves.
No, we won't. I'll be over your shoulder to edit that one. He's the first player to score a hat trick in a World Cup final since a certain Jeff Hurst in 1966, and he is just an incredible player.
He's unstoppable, and I think it's really, really scary to see a player like him who's still so young coming up through the ranks. And I mean, he's proved it in the World Cup. PSG, yeah, he's probably proved it. They're still yet to win a Champions League. So
look, on a personal level, the guy has scored 13 goals in 2 World Cups.
Yeah.
Like, he is already in contention to be the top goal scorer outright at that tournament. Or he needs to score 4 goals at the next World Cup, and he's already beaten Miroslav Klose's record.
Yeah.
And he's got at least 3 World Cups in him at this point. And France will be back.
Oh, definitely.
France will be back with a team that is not full of injuries, and Kylian Mbappe in his prime, the prime that footballers have, where you sort of say.
And I mean, some of the other
26, 27.
Some of the other younger players in that team will also be developing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They've not got nobody in that team as well. Even if you maybe your Kantés and your Pogbas, as much as they've missed this World Cup.
I thought Rabiot put in a good shift, to be fair.
He did, absolutely.
I was really shocked at
He did, to be fair. But, I mean, your players like that, you're not going to have Giroud at the next World Cup. You're probably not going to have Kanté, to be honest.
Maybe not Benzema.
Knocking on. He's 34. You're probably not going to have Karim. Oh, yeah, he's retired. He's retired from international football.
That's what I mean.
Of course he has. You're not going to have Lloris. You're not going to have Benzema. You're not going to have these players, but you are going to have prime Mbappe. You are going to have, you're still going to have Ousmane Dembele. You might even still have Antoine Griezmann. He's had an amazing tournament in midfield.
Quality.
You're going to have Chouameni. You're going to have Camavinga. You're going to have Upamecano at the back. You're still going to have Jules Koundé. Yeah, absolutely. Still got
Canate.
I've got to say, Jules Koundé, he was one of the outstanding defenders in that tournament.
Koundé had to sort of adapt as well and move into right back.
He was brilliant.
Fantastic tournament.
Is he still at Sevilla?
No, he's at Barca.
He's at Barca, isn't he?
Yeah, because they pipped Chelsea to the post, didn't they, to sign him?
They did. What a player.
But yeah, France will be back. And one more narrative as well, just from the game itself, is that of Montiel, the Argentina substitute, who came on in extra time, gave away a France penalty for them to equalise with a handball, and then the game went to a penalty shootout, and Montiel scored the winning penalty for Argentina. Nice little redemption story. I thought that was very. I thought that was very nice when that happened. So just an incredible game to watch. Just somebody that loves football narratives.
Should we move on to our teams of the tournament?
Yes, I think
spark a little bit of debate in it.
Do you want to go first, then, Jacob?
Yeah,
since you suggested that.
Let me get mine up. Mine is very.
Oh, is that search?
No. It's on my notes ready.
Oh, is that to
so I don't think there can be any debate about Livakovic in goal.
Well, you could either give it him or Bono, or maybe Martinez. Well, actually,
I just think if we're going off,
it kind of feels wrong to not give it to Martinez. But personally, I agree with that.
I think he had the game of his tournament against Brazil.
Yeah.
Theo
Hernandez, I think.
What is he, a right back or
left back?
He's a left back, right?
Left to right, we're going.
Yeah, like that.
Otamendi.
Okay, right.
Vardiol.
Yep.
It
sounds stupid to say Otamendi, but Argentina's defence is incredible. It's Otamendi.
And then I was unsure between Koundé and Kyle Walker, but I've given it Kyle Walker, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think he had a
I think there's a player you've forgotten there, and when I say my name for right back, you're going to kick yourself.
And then I've pretty much gone with, hopefully, the new Liverpool midfield, with Jude Bellingham, Amrabat and Enzo Fernandez, who got young player at the tournament, and rightly so.
They did.
And then a front three of Mbappe, Giroud and Lionel Messi.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that with that forward line.
No, not at all.
Am I going next?
Yeah. Go on.
Try and keep the coughing to a minimum. I also went with Livakovic in goal. Martinez is absolutely an honourable mention. I had chosen my team before the final itself. Obviously, Martinez performed incredibly in that game, but we kind of have to remember he did concede 3 goals, as much as 2 of them were penalties. But Martinez is absolutely an honourable mention there, but I am going to take Livakovic in goal as well, just because I think he was less likely to impress. Right back, you're going to kick yourself for this one. Hakimi.
Yeah.
He's in mine.
I can't believe you've not. I can't believe you've taken Kyle Walker
He's
over
definitely
Hakimi.
in mine.
I was trying to back the English boys.
Look, I know, but like we made the quarter-final. Morocco made the
Let's
semi-final.
not be biased here.
Come on, like
I suppose.
absolutely Achraf Hakimi. Left back, I've also gone for Theo Hernandez. I don't think he was meant to play many games in this tournament, and then he had to when Luka Hernandez got injured.
It was nice that he got given the chance.
Absolutely, yeah, and he took it with both hands as well. Centre backs, I've also gone for Gvardiol. He's had a breakout tournament, and
brilliant.
I've seen a lot of like after the World Cup. There's been a lot of things talking about people's like expected transfer value, players who've like done really well in the tournament. It's how much they expect to be paid, like how much you'd expect a team to pay for them. And Gvardiol's in like the 100 mils. Like he's got years
Leipzig
to go,
at the minute, isn't he? He's at Leipzig at the minute.
I think so, yeah. Let me just double check this.
Yeah, I think you're right. God, I'm having a nightmare with this cough.
I know.
Oh, and other centre half.
Yeah, he is.
Excuse you.
I am all right. Other centre half, I've gone for a little bit of a left field shout, but his performance in the final as well made me swing this way. Deo Upamecano
Yep.
as the other centre half.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad shout. I think
he's
Otamendi
been-
had a very, very impressive
I
tournament.
think he was brilliant when he was relied upon, and I didn't want to fill it out with too many Argentina players. Midfielders, Sofian Amrabat absolutely earned it. He's in the hole. Jude Bellingham is in there as well.
Yep.
I know we said obviously England only made the quarters, but he was maybe our best player at age. How old is he? Like 19, 20?
19, 20, something
know.
around that, yeah.
And the other midfielder I went for was Antoine Griezmann.
See, I don't think you can look over Enzo Fernandez getting young player of the tournament.
I know, but I mean, honestly, I was kind of shocked that young player of the tournament didn't go to Julian Alvarez. I was expecting it to go to him over Fernandez. I think Fernandez was excellent throughout the tournament, but I've gone for Antoine Griezmann as well because he's another player that you might have discounted before the tournament because he's had a very sort of hot and cold few years since he left Atleti for Barca. But, you know, operating off the forward line rather than as part of it.
Yeah, no,
It was incredible. And your forward three, I totally agree with you. I went for Messi on the right, Giroud through the middle, and Mbappe on the left. I don't think there's many arguments about that. The only reason the only change I can think to make is Alvarez for Giroud.
Here comes the oracles.
I think I'm kind of repeating what you guys said.
Go on, Matt.
But except I've gone for Bono in goal.
Right.
And that's simply because, before you say anything, I know the Moroccan defence were obviously responsible for keeping a lot of the clean sheets, but I mean, you can't really diss the fact that no one had scored against them until the France game. I mean, he's got to have had a big part of that. I didn't watch.
It was only an own goal. That was the only goal that had been scored was their own player.
I'll let you off.
So I mean, you know, I can't really ignore that. And I know they conceded 2 against France, but that's the reason I'm putting him in goal because he had to have a big part in that.
Absolutely, yeah, it's fair enough.
So Hakimi, he's got to be in there. I agree with you with Upamecano and Gvardiol, definitely.
Yeah.
Left back, Theo Hernandez, definitely. He was a very standout player. Midfield, I think Jude Bellingham was definitely a massive standout for England. I think, especially for the fact that this was his first World Cup, to make such an impact that he did make for the England team.
Got his first goal for England as well.
Got his first goal for England. I think he was absolutely outstanding. And then Sofian Amrabat, he was a player that I was constantly watching in the France game, and although they did lose, he was absolutely unstoppable.
He was everywhere, wasn't he?
Kept going. And then it gets difficult. Enzo Fernandez, can't deny that he had a brilliant outbreak season. And then I am actually going to put Julian Alvarez on my team over Giroud, because I thought him and Messi together were completely unstoppable for me. I thought they were absolutely brilliant. In the game against Croatia, the 2 goals that Alvarez scored were absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Well taken, to be fair.
Taken.
I forgot about that second goal, actually, where he picks it up on the halfway line and just goes, doesn't he?
And then, I mean, we've got to have that little Argentina bloke in. and then obviously
Messi,
Mbappe as well.
And
So
those two are shoe-ins. Like those, it's going to be those two for the Ballon d'Or
100%, 100%.
and I think that's only fair as well. Like that might see Messi win his 8th Ballon d'Or,
Yeah,
or he'll see Mbappe win his first. They're going to be the two options, really.
but I mean that's pretty much it for all the World Cup stuff. I can't believe, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I can't believe it's nearly a month ago, and it almost seems like it's not a lost memory, but people aren't talking about it as much.
Well, there is reason for that. Obviously, the domestic league has returned, and we will go on to discuss a little bit about that. But I mean, when the place where we get our equipment from closes over Christmas and New Year,
it provides a little bit of a test,
doesn't
doesn't it?
There's not really much we can do. So there had to be a little bit of delay, but it has given us time to watch and enjoy the domestic league's return.
Aye.
And obviously, as English football fans, we've been watching a lot of Premier League football since it has come back. And you've not been enjoying yourself, have you, as a Liverpool fan?
I think that probably the best way to say it is just false hope. We started well.
I was really worried you were about to swear then.
Oh,
when you said the best way to describe it is.
No,
and I didn't know where you were going.
I did hold back. But no, it's just false hope. We've always had the same problems in the last couple of seasons. There's no creativity in the middle of the park, and the defensive problems rely on the right hand side, which I still think that Trent needs to push on, but for some reason we haven't trialed it. But it's just a case of we just need something fresh in the middle of the park, and I'm sure that the problems will be eradicated. But
we've not made any signings so far this January, have you?
No, Gakpo.
Cody Gakpo.
Oh, of course.
Do you think that with Liverpool, do you think in the middle of the park maybe? I know Liverpool like to do the 3 midfielders and then one holding. Do you think maybe you should go for an attacking midfielder? Because I mean,
I would be against it, but I think if we're gonna play with an attacking midfielder, then I think we need 2 holding rather than 1 holding. I think that's probably.
Is that not what Henderson and Fabinho do though?
Yeah, but I think Henderson works better as
a box-to-box
rather than a holding, because I don't think he's got the legs in there anymore. Whereas Fabinho, I don't know what's gone on. I think I'm not going to say he's a flop because he had a brilliant.
No, of course he's not a chance. Flop.
He's
but
brilliant.
He's just having an off season. He just looks so lost.
I think everyone in Liverpool is having a bit of an off season at the minute because
there's only a couple of players that come away with with any praise at the minute so far for me this season. That one's Alisson, and then the second one. Well, I'm struggling to find a second one in fairness.
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
No, the less said the better. But I'd probably say Alisson's probably the only one, and maybe Harvey Elliott. He showed it in glimpses, but he hasn't. But the thing is, as I said to you the other day, I don't think you can afford to play Harvey Elliott all throughout the season in that midfield because he doesn't have the players to back him up. He doesn't. Where Klopp plays him as well, he plays him on the wing, and I think his best positions is the 10. I don't think Harvey Elliott has as much an impact out on the wing. I don't think he's able to drift with the ball or move about with the ball and have that influence on the game that he would have liked. So that's my thinking anyway.
I think me and you at the moment we've got a bit of a common consensus here because both of our teams at the moment aren't exactly performing to the best. I mean, we won against Crystal Palace last week, and to be fair, up until the very late second half, it was really difficult to watch.
It was until you got that first goal.
It was until we got that first goal.
When you got that first goal, you came into your stride a little bit.
But it's almost like at the moment, especially with Tottenham, we need to actually make a signing because I mean we've got shaky areas all over the pitch, especially with our fullbacks at the moment, which is probably one of our main issues.
That's something that you've been talking about for a while, obviously with Emerson Royale. When it comes to teams that are doing very well in the Premier League, you can't look past Tottenham's super best friends in the world. He's about to just get up and leave at that one. Arsenal, as it stands, 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League. They've just won the North London derby. Sorry to rub that in. On the same day that Manchester City lost... Sorry, the same weekend that Manchester City lost the Manchester derby, which leaves them a very comfortable 8 points clear as things stand. They're still yet to play Man City twice.
And we've got a very exciting game coming up with Arsenal versus Manchester United.
Yes, so this weekend coming up has quite a selection of fixtures with, actually on Thursday we've got the rearranged Tottenham versus Manchester City game.
Lovely.
And at the weekend itself we have Arsenal versus Manchester United. I think that's the 4:30 kickoff on Saturday. And then on the Sunday, it's the early kickoff on the Saturday, it is Liverpool-Chelsea as well.
Yeah.
Which is
The relegation battle.
ninth versus 10th, Liverpool and Chelsea.
That is crazy.
I remember the last time that would have happened.
With Brentford, Brighton and Fulham looking down on you.
I think what would be quite interesting is if we, obviously at the moment, when we're looking at the Premier League, we can see two teams, since this weekend, then two teams that have been really outstanding, and that's United and Arsenal. If you were to put them two teams together, what...
Ooh, so we're doing a combined 11.
What would you do
ahead of the game
combined
this
11
weekend?
for Manchester United and Arsenal?
I'm taking Ramsdale.
Ramsdale.
That's a given.
He had I hate to say it, he had absolutely amazing.
He had the game of
against
his
us.
life against Tottenham and then got kicked in the back for it.
Yes,
me.
I don't condone any kind of violence like that. It's
No, none of us do, obviously, but
shocking.
that was a lot of
So
nonsense.
Ramsdale in goal, Zinchenko, Varane, and Saliba, and right back
You're not taking Ben White?
Ben White. Yeah,
It is
I was
right
gonna-
back.
I
It's
was
Ben
gonna
White.
say-
It's Ben White over Dallo or Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah,
It's Ben White.
Ben White has got to be in there.
Midfielders.
I think Bruno.
Well, where you put what midfield do you take? What formation are we going for?
4-3-3. I'm going.
Okay.
Are we having a holding mid or
So
just straight three?
yeah, just a
Okay.
straight
So-
through that can play anywhere.
Okay, so Bruno, Ødegaard.
Bruno,
Cannot
Ødegaard,
not have Ødegaard.
and I'd say Fred. I've been impressed
You're
with this.
joking.
Nah,
Really?
He's the energy.
You're joking.
You're taking Fred over
Yeah.
Thomas
over
Partey?
Partey or Xhaka, the way they've
Yeah.
played this season.
Wow.
That's very brave.
Fair play.
That's very brave.
Right,
play.
Actually, you're taking Fred over Casemiro
Oh, that's a good point.
or Christian Eriksen. What about the other Man United midfielders?
No, we'll go Casemiro.
Yeah, that's probably the
Casemiro
smart
in the
decision.
middle.
We're leaving it out.
Casemiro's been absolutely
Casemiro, Bruno,
phenomenal.
Ødegaard. I'd take that. And then your front, Saka on the right,
Saka on the right.
Rashford on the left.
Yeah, and then
I'd say Rashford through the middle.
Who's on the left then?
Martinelli.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
oh
How about that?
yeah, I'll take that.
How
Yeah,
about
that's not bad at all. That's good.
How about that? That's a very strong starting 11 the way they've played this season.
I like that.
They're not the only teams in the top four as well. We've been mentioned of City.
Newcastle.
Yeah, I was about to say, we've been mentioned of City and Arsenal and Man United.
Are they second now, Newcastle?
No,
No, they're
third on
but-
goal. Third on they're a point behind City. They've got Man United on goal difference at the moment. So
Brilliant.
we know what it is.
Just
Obviously,
haven't stopped.
it's not come from nowhere, has it?
No, of course
it's
not,
It's obviously come from their incredible bankroll that they
But
had
I mean,
last year.
to be fair to them, the signings they've made this season, they haven't been outlandish. They haven't been.
They did put £70 million on Alexander Isak's head.
Yeah, very true.
For a player who did get injured quite quickly, obviously that's not his fault, but that is not Newcastle. Their record signing for about 15 years was Michael Owen.
Exactly.
And that was in the area. That was in the era where Premier League teams spent money on,
But I mean, what I'm trying to say is they haven't gone through maybe a City phase where they've just bought in some massive players. They've bought in sensible. They've started the season with sensible players.
They have, yeah. A lot of their signings that have worked very well have been relatively reasonable ones.
Bruno Guimaraes. What
Guimaraes,
brilliant signing
absolutely.
he was.
He's been brilliant. Alexander Isak has been good when he's played.
Nick Pope.
Nick Pope is a
quality.
phenomenal. Nick Pope had to leave Burnley.
Dan Burn.
Yeah.
When Burnley went down, Nick Pope had to leave. Otherwise,
He was too good for
Otherwise, he'd become the
Championship.
next Jack Butland. And I don't know Butland's at Man United now, but that doesn't count. He had to
legend.
leave, and going to
He is
Newcastle was a fantastic move because of the new ambition that they have now.
I mean,
as well,
And it's one of them. Even when they improve the squad more and more, and then you start to see more players fluctuate
Miguel
in and
Almiron.
out. For instance,
of course,
then,
what a season he's had! It's the Jack Grealish curse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Comparing one of his teammates.
Golinson.
Yeah, Golinton's
Moving into the midfield.
He settled into centre midfield. Linton.
He looks brilliant there.
Yeah.
He honestly doesn't look out of place.
No, he looks at home in that midfield as well. Oh dear.
Looking forward to my chopsticks.
Me too.
I've not eaten anything
Starving.
yet today. I can do to eat.
By the way, if you haven't been to Chopsticks, go to Chopsticks.
Yeah, I don't.
Download the app to get 5 free spring rolls. That is 5 free spring rolls. Otherwise, you'll be paying $1.95 with a drink as a top up. Thank you.
Didn't notice Jay's a little bit ill today.
Oh.
So,
3, 2, 1. Yeah, Sam Maximan's been doing what he...
start that again. Why did you do that?
3, 2, 1.
Stop it.
And Sam Maximan's been doing what he does as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a brilliant player, and I kind of always felt a bit sorry for him because, I mean, before it kind of seemed like he was carrying the team, but he's always been one of them great players, and it's nice to see him shine. Well, him and the whole team just sort of doing really well now.
Yeah, exactly. We say this now about Newcastle.
Yeah.
In 10 years' time, if they are the new Man City that throw money at all the good players...
We'll all hate them.
Yeah, exactly, we will. That's my point. Like, 15 years ago when this happened to Man City, it was like, oh, it's a new team. It's nice to see this. And now they, spend £75 million every summer on a great player from another team. And we all go, oh, for God's sake, of course City have signed them. Like...
Yeah.
We will grow to hate Newcastle as well. If this success ends up materialising into trophy after trophy, we are going to end up hating Newcastle.
Yeah.
But for now, we can enjoy...
It's nice to see.
We can enjoy the new...
The new face.
Yeah, exactly. The new sort of... it's nice to see something different until it's not different anymore.
But it's been nice to see as well, and aside from Newcastle, it's been nice to see teams like Brentford, Fulham... and Brighton, who...
I absolutely had Fulham going down. Fulham and Norwich do that thing, don't they, where they both...
Balloon payments.
Where one of them goes down as the other one comes up, and they wave
yeah.
at each other as they cross over, and then then the next season they swap roles. Norwich will go up as Fulham come down, and then the next season Fulham will go up as Norwich come down. That's just what happens, and that's just the way it is. But it's not this season. Fulham are in the Europa League places. They're 6th place.
Brilliant. They've been... playing brilliantly.
They have. Mitrovic has finally proven himself as a Premier League striker. They've got good play. Like, João Palhinha has been amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that he went to Fulham at all is incredible, and not Wolves. Speaking of Wolves, actually, we'll talk about a few of the disappointments as well.
I think they're safe now that they've got Lopetegui.
But I think
they're still in the drop zone as it stands, I think, aren't they?
No, just outside because they won, didn't they, against
they
West Ham.
leapfrog West Ham, they did, yeah.
But I think Brentford are another brilliant...
Well, Brentford have obviously
shout.
been... Yeah, Brentford have been brilliant.
They were good last season.
And again, it's really... Exactly, because obviously they came up and it was their first season of top-flight football for 70-plus years. So to watch them do well, to establish themselves... You're getting the table up, yeah?
Yeah, I'm just having a look.
To watch them do well and establish themselves is really nice. It's really... And, they're a team that are easy to like as well, Brentford.
Yeah, and you can't obviously... forget about Brighton either, who have been brilliant.
They're very unlucky to lose Graham Potter in the way that they did.
We'll never forget the 4-1 against Chelsea.
Well, absolutely not. Yeah, they battered Graham Potter's Chelsea.
Yeah.
Well,
with Graham Potter's Brighton.
I was going to say Brighton as well, another team.
That's it. Yeah, Roberto De Zerbi's come in.
The screen, I promise.
Roberto De Zerbi's come in and done a brilliant job.
I mean, there's so many young players in that squad as well that have just come out and been absolutely phenomenal.
There is absolutely. I mean, look, Alexis McAllister's not going to be there in the summer. Maybe you'd think. But like Brighton have a World Cup winner in their team.
Yeah,
that feels a little bit weird to say. Brighton, Brighton, they have a World Cup winner in their team.
So the next question then, obviously this is how the drop zone looks at the minute. West Ham, Everton and Southampton.
What happened to West Ham?
What changes?
What?
Like who stays, who goes?
I think at the beginning of the season, I was having this conversation with a few of our friends, and my bottom three were Bournemouth, Fulham, and Southampton. Southampton were a bit of a sort of rogue pick. I was convinced Fulham and Bournemouth were going.
Yeah.
And I just put Southampton in there to fill it out. But that looks like it might come true. The others won't. As a fan of a championship team, I kind of want Everton to come down just so we can play them in an away day.
Yeah.
Because as a team that are currently mid-table in the championship, we're not going to get many chances to play Everton, who've been in the top flight for 100 years or however long. Like, that doesn't happen often.
Have an away trip to Goodison
For
Park.
us to have a home and an away trip to Goodison,
will the new stadium be done by then?
No, I don't know.
I think it's 2024. It's expected. So,
and I think that's the biggest problem with Everton's downfall at the minute is the fact that so much focus has gone into that new stadium and not enough focus has gone into the squad.
They spent on the wrong resources.
100%.
Like last year, last season, Everton lost Ancelotti at the beginning of the season. They hired Rafa Benitez, which everybody laughed at. And I remember, I don't know how true this is, but like I'm pretty sure their entire transfer budget went on Damari Gray. Like they did not get given, and that was like 1.5 mil.
Yeah, buying Leverkusen.
They did not get a lot of money to use. Like the signings that came in were freebies, like your Andros Townsends, like, and they're not good enough players, like for Everton to be taking on at that level. Like in this summer, okay, they had a lot more money to throw around. They brought in that Anana, Idrissa Gana Gueye came back.
Quality.
Anana's been brilliant.
He's brilliant.
Idrissa Gueye came back.
Yeah.
There's been a few like
Neil Maupay.
Neil Maupay came in. Yeah,
He hasn't hit the heights that I thought he would.
He hasn't, no. But Everton haven't had an out and out haven't had a standout striker.
Tarkowski as well. And Connor Cody.
Connor Cody came in, and he's done really well.
He's been good.
He's been a shining light in a poor Everton team, Connor Cody. But the problem is, he's not going to go to Everton permanently, especially not if they go down.
He's Scouse, isn't he?
He is. He's a boy Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
He's a boy Liverpool fan, which is like a little bit ironic. Especially if Everton go down, let's say Everton go down and Wolves don't, Connor Cody's not going to leave Wolves for Everton. He might leave Wolves and go somewhere else, but he won't leave it for Everton. He won't leave it for Championship football.
I just think, like, I know a lot of people boil it down to the manager. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think Frank Lampard's very established as a manager yet, but I think people need to see the fact that although, yes, it's part of his plan that's not working, it's also the owners who are more revenue-based, revenue-focused on the new stadium.
Well, that's what all the protests have been, obviously. There's been plenty of, like, long-winded banners turning up at games, and I saw something recently as well that whatever his first name is, Mr. Kenwright, was advised not to go to.
Yeah, not to go.
I think it was the Southampton game because it was at Goodison, and they lost to bottom Southampton, who are now within breathing space of them. Like they were urged not to go to that game, the owners, for fear of their safety. Like they were worried that the Everton fans would genuinely just cause physical injury, and obviously there's no place for that in football. But I understand the angst.
Yeah, I get the anger.
If they were to physically take it out on Mr. Kenwright, that would be wrong, obviously. But I understand why they're annoyed as they are, because Everton are an institution of a football club.
Yeah, they are.
Like, if you think of the teams in the Premier League, you list off the top 6. Ooh. That's not true, is it? But
they played at
Liverpool played at Goodison for a while.
Yeah,
exactly. Was it Everton at Anfield?
It was Everton at Anfield before Liverpool.
Everton at Anfield, yeah, before they got Goodison. Well, either way, like when you think of historically like Premier League teams, like if somebody give you like a random year, like if somebody turned to you and said, "Here is like name every team that was in the Premier League in 1994." Everton are like one of the first 5 teams you think of. You're not going to think, "Oh, were they in the league that season?" They're an institution of the top division in English football. To see them fall the way they have, especially after when they were pushing Europe not long ago, realistically, like and I don't mean like in the way that Burnley were pushing Europe in that one season.
Carlo Ancelotti in charge.
Under Ancelotti, they did really well, and I don't mean the same way that Burnley were pushing Europe for 1 year,
or Sheffield
United were pushing Europe 1 year. I mean, like they were consistently there. They finished in the top 4 in the Premier League era. Under Moyes, they finished 4th 1 year. They never made the Champions League full.
David Moyes,
but like. They are not. They are a team that you like to see them go down is quite sad. Like it's like when Newcastle. Well, personally, I'm. Well, yeah, of course you don't. You're a Liverpool fan. I personally, I would like to have them in the Championship, but that's just because I'm a fan of a Championship team. Because I would like to play them home and away. That'd be pretty cool. But it's a shame for a team like that to fall the way they have.
But I mean, you've mentioned that name, David Moyes. And West Ham.
Well, David Moyes' head might be on the chopping block next.
Yeah.
The way West Ham are playing, obviously they made Europe as recently as last year, and now
that's the only saving grace that he's got at the minute.
Now they're in the drop zone, exactly. Like
how just what?
And it's
that
not
squad
like,
as well.
The thing is, I was about to say that. Like in the summer, it's not like they had a mass exodus or anything like that. Like
they signed Skamaka, was it?
Yeah, they brought in Skamaka.
Lucas
Paqueta.
They didn't really lose any big names that I can think of. They kept hold of Declan Rice. Like they've done.
They got Areola in goal, I think.
No, he doesn't start. It's still Fabianski.
Is it Fabianski?
It's still Fabianski that starts.
He's getting on a bit though now, isn't he?
He's about 37, Lucas Fabianski. Yeah, but he can
Suchek's still there. Soufal.
Yeah, players like that are still there. Exactly. Like Zuma, as as funny as it is to laugh at him for the whole
Cat
Cat
scandal.
thing.
that nonsense. Yeah, exactly. For that, like he's still a good player in that West Ham team.
Yeah, I just can't believe.
Like they still have
They
the
are where they
quality,
are.
but there's just something's not there. Something's not clicking.
I think the best way we can conclude this one then is let's get each of us final four, like top four.
Top four.
top 4 at the end of the season.
So,
Do you want to do top 4 and bottom 3?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
let's do that.
Top 4 and bottom 3.
Let's
Okay.
start off on the worst of the two notes. So I
Okay,
think,
so bottom
think-
3 then.
I think in no particular order. I think Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, and Everton.
That's your bottom 3.
Really?
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
Any
Um,
particular justification? Like Forest and Bournemouth have done well to climb away from the bottom, from the drop.
I think they've played a lot of their easier games at the minute. I don't think they've had sort of the bigger teams come back around just yet, and I think that's
they
gonna be
did
that-
beat you, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
They did beat
I'm
Liverpool.
trying to forget that. But no, I think that the bigger games that will be coming up towards the back end of the season will be the difference for them.
Okay. Okay. And what about Bournemouth?
Bournemouth, I just don't think they've got enough quality, and I don't think that if they get a big injury to someone like Jeffrey Lerma or Dominic Solanke, I don't think they've got the quality to then go and replace
Not
it.
got the depth.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you on Bournemouth for the same reasons. I don't think initially Bournemouth have got the depth, and I mean I think for a Premier League team at the moment, I can't really see them sufficing the season. But then I would say Southampton, just simply because they haven't had the best season they've had. I know they won the last game against Everton, but I think that's just down to the fact that they played a very poor Everton team who just aren't focused and just aren't really a team at the moment. There's a lot going on. And then I think Everton, I do genuinely think Everton probably will go down. And I hate to say it because I'd love Everton to stay up, but the quality's not there, the focus isn't there, and with all the outside communication from the fans and everything, it just must be putting such a damper on the team. And it must be really difficult for them. I just can't see them staying up at the moment.
Fair enough. So you go for Bournemouth, Everton, and Southampton.
Yeah.
Where are Bournemouth in the league table at the moment? Yeah, just outside the
Just
drop.
outside the drop.
Right. Forest are as high as like 12th now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Forest have climbed. Have you still got
And
the
Forest
table?
have just signed someone as well who looks really
Danilo.
good.
Yeah,
They have.
That's
they-
Danilo.
Have you got the table there?
Yeah.
Do you mind?
I'll read it aloud. So obviously Arsenal.
Not trust me with your phone.
No.
You don't read the whole thing. Who's near the bottom, please?
So I'll go from 12th down. 'Cause
Right.
I don't think anybody. I think everyone else should be safe.
Okay, go on.
So you got Palace, Forest, Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham, Everton, Southampton.
Right. So I'm also going to put Bournemouth in the bottom three. I think they've probably just. You mentioned about the depth. I don't think it's something they have. You're right about that, I think. I'm also trying to take into consideration the idea of a new manager bounce, which is why I'm not keen on putting West Ham or Everton in the bottom two, because I feel like if they get rid of Lampard or Moyes,
But who goes in and realistically?
it
turns
doesn't matter
around?
who goes in. It's just that new. It's something new, isn't it?
I don't know,
Yeah.
because Nathan Jones, is it, from Southampton? That's
Well-
yet to happen, is it? Well,
well-
I suppose he is coming to a bit of form now, but
Well, that's why I'm
before that.
also going to put Southampton in the drop zone, because they've made that managerial change and it's not really happened.
No.
So I'm taking Bournemouth to go down, Southampton to go down, and I think it is probably going to be one of West Ham or Everton at this rate, and I think there's probably is just enough turmoil at Everton for it to be them. Like
That's
I feel
what I
like
was
West
thinking.
Ham are a more stable unit as a whole than as a club than Everton are at the moment. Like if there's no change in fortunes on the pitch for Everton, whether they sack Lampard or not, if Everton are still 18th by like the first by mid-April, let's say, I don't know if there'll be games that actually finish at Goodison Park, because they
No.
might just be upended by protests.
Yeah.
Like it's something that I could see happen. It's obviously something I don't want to see happen, but it's something that I could see happen. I feel like the club at the minute is just in too fragile a place to fight as
Yeah.
much as West Ham.
And the emotions
Oh.
have been high for quite a while now, because
Yeah.
even just before Lampard had signed, the emotions were high about Everton's performances, and I just...
Well, they looked like they were... Last season, it was... Obviously, Norwich and Watford were dead in the water by this point, but last season, at any point, it looked like any one of Burnley, Leeds and Everton could have all gone down. In the end, it was Burnley that bit the dust, but like week to week, you were never sure who it was going to be that went down, and I'm not sure if it is going to be Everton, but for the purposes of this, I am going to put them in the bottom three. I'm going to put them 18th, but I'm going to put them in the bottom three, unfortunately.
Okay, let's
top four then.
Top four. Well, I suppose we do.
Can't do no particular order for top four. Come on.
No.
I think Arsenal do go on and win it. I think the togetherness that they've got in the squad, and I think the personnel that they've got in the squad, I think it's enough to get them over the line. And well, they're going to have no better chance, I don't think, in the next few years. Then I'm going to go City, and then United, and then Liverpool. I think we always find a way. We always do find a way to.
You do. That year where you had all those injuries. It was the COVID year. Not the COVID
when we
year.
had Nat Phillips and Reece Williams.
Yeah, you were defending champions, and you had like Jordan Henderson and Nat Phillips. As you said, and Kabak. Can't forget Kabak.
Wow.
He was poor.
He was tragic.
Kabak.
But yeah, like you had that team, and you still scraped third. Like you did not deserve it.
No,
but you did. In the end, you got there. So maybe it's not the most outlandish.
Yeah, I think so. That's mine. What about you, Matt?
Oh, now, obviously, look, I'm a Tottenham fan. I mean, it's really difficult to say Arsenal are going to win. So I'm not. No, I'm joking. No, at the moment, Arsenal. When I look back at how they played us the other day. They're a team that just collaborate really well. They put away the chances, and they really, really look like they want this more than anyone. So I think, yes, they will go on and win it. Second is tough.
You're gonna go and brush your teeth after saying that.
I know. Second is tough because, I mean, United look like they're actually starting to play really well together now. So I'm going to put in a risk and say United second.
Wow.
I mean, United have done it before. United got second when Ollie was.
They did. Ollie was remember who got first? It was.
And I remember who got first.
It was the other guys.
The other guys, yeah. City have fallen off a little bit. I don't think it'll last long. I think City will pull third place very easily because that is just what City do. Fourth place. Now, fourth place is really just a scramble for anyone. I think I can't really say a fourth place because I genuinely don't know. It's such a scramble. It could be us. It could be Brighton. It could be Chelsea or that other red team. If they pull, but that's the thing.
They're about a point behind you.
Yeah, don't.
But it's so close. It is so
tight.
Close. Fourth place could be literally anyone's. And
we were having this conversation last night, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
Like nobody's, maybe except Arsenal, nobody's dead set for top four. Right now.
Not a chance.
No, true.
And it could change just in the blink of an eye.
For the purposes of this, then, who are you giving fourth to?
I'll give it to Tottenham.
Fair enough.
Because I do believe my club can pull the stuff together.
Yeah.
And hopefully we will get fourth place and we'll get Champions League.
It doesn't matter, you'll win the Champions League anyway.
Yeah, we're in the Champions League still anyway.
Stay in the tournament, so
if Arsenal win the Premier League, we're winning the Champions League. I know which one I'd rather win.
Okay, so for my top four then, I'm going to agree with both of you and say that Arsenal, having watched them quite a lot this season, especially in the big games as well, like, they can beat your Crystal Palaces and your Brightons and your Villas all the live long day. But to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And when they've come up against the best,
Tottenham.
When they've come up against them, like when they've played the big teams around them, they've only lost one game this season. That was to Man United. They've beaten Chelsea. They've beaten Spurs. Still yet to play City. They beat Liverpool. I'm pretty sure, didn't they?
Yeah, because we were on the way back from Alton Towers, weren't we?
Oh,
and I had it on the radio and.
Yeah, you turned it off, didn't you?
Yeah, I just gave up.
Yeah, exactly.
Halfway home.
They've beaten the big teams, so I think they have enough about them to get over the line.
So Arsenal
first, and I think it's going to be City second, and I think it's going to be closer than it is now. Like, I can see maybe 2 points in it. And it'd be nice to see City actually lose a title by little points rather than win it like they always do.
And then who are you going third? I don't think we need to speak about City too much.
Third, Man United. Okay. They have really come together now under Erik Ten Hag. Things are looking up for them. Rashford's on the form of his life.
Yep.
Like, given the fact that they started this season with loss to Brighton, and then they got absolutely spanked by Brentford, if you remember that. And then obviously they lost the derby as well in such mental fashion. That 6-3 at the Etihad.
Yeah.
But they've recovered, and look, they've won the second derby. They're the only teams to beat Arsenal this season. They've enough about them to comfortably finish third, and maybe this is hopeful for fourth. But I'm going to give it to Newcastle.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know what?
And
it'd be nice to see them fourth,
because ultimately, this is a conversation that we were also having last night. Newcastle have got to play against the same teams that everybody else has. Newcastle have got to play the big teams in the same way that City and Tottenham and Liverpool, other teams that are fighting for top four, they've got to play those teams. But then they've also got to play the other teams that make up the numbers in the Premier League. Well, maybe that's harsh, but the teams that your Leicesters and your Wolves. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your teams that are comfortable, not challenging, and it is anybody's to take at this point. But Newcastle have got this far. Why not?
Out of respect, I did kind of put Tottenham in there because I want Tottenham to get there. Really, Newcastle probably should deserve fourth place. I think they deserve Champions League football.
I'd like to see it happen, and I reckon probably Liverpool and Spurs round.
My mate Jack Shenton will be very happy about that because he's a massive Newcastle fan. Big up, Jack.
There you go. I'm sure he'll love that when he sees this.
So thank you everyone for watching the last episode of the World Cup Waffle. Very unfortunate, but don't worry, we will be back. Obviously, we've talked about the Premier League today, which was a good start, and then we will continue to talk about the Premier League, but also the people I work for at Family FC have said that they'll be looking to collaborate and perhaps do a podcast together. So we will let you know in the next podcast if we do that. But from now, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and that is goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from a very ill me.
Ciao, ciao.